Hey Chuck, why do some women cheat on good men?
Well, I think it's because these good men are bad at picking women, and they tend to pick women who tend to cheat.
Do you ever wonder, why do I always seem to give so much more than I get? All I want is to be appreciated and loved. Is that asking too much? Why do all the jerks get the hot girls while I get stuck in the friend zone? When will it ever be my turn? If this sounds like you, you're in the right place. Welcome to The Nice Guy Show. This is the podcast that asks the question, how do I break free from the nice guy syndrome so I never have to come in last again? Now here are your hosts, Faisal Coker and Chuck Chapman.
Hey guys, welcome to the Nice Guys Show. I'm your host, Chuck Chapman, and I'm here with my co-host, Faisal Coker. And today we're going to talk about why women are not always innocent and why they sometimes cheat on good men. So Faisal, you have a story about this.
I do. Chuck, when I really started to get more conscious about life, I always thought, women, men were the cheaters and women got cheated on. So I remember recently, not long ago, I was at a bar with a friend of mine. We were having some drinks, and there was this two women near us, and one of them just kept, looking over, and then she came over. And then she just started talking, and I could see she was a little bit tipsy, a little bit drunk,
Mm.
and she just started to, she was all over me, and it wasn't just me that she was all over. She was like pretty much. I was watching her before. She was all over a lot of the guys that in the bar, and what had happened was that she was celebrating her divorce. So she just got divorced, and she was out with her friend celebrating her divorce. So it was an interesting conversation that we had for a few minutes, and then I started to pay attention to her friend because she was sitting there by herself alone, and I said, how's it all going? And she said, yeah, I'm good. And I said, so are you divorced too? And we just got into this conversation, and then she told me that she was a beautician, and she worked on a lot of film sets, and she met a lot of women. And as we were talking about relationships and divorce, because that was the topic right then, and her friend was celebrating, she said something that really shocked me. It really, really shocked me. And I kind of knew, but I didn't really want to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
She said, and we were talking about cheating, and she said, if I want to cheat on a man, right? Mind you, she's married.
Yeah.
And she goes, I can cheat on a man and he would never know. She said, I could have sex in our marital bed and he would be the none the wiser. I said, how? She said, she goes, we women can be very cunning, very discreet, very covert. And the guys are clueless. They will not pick up the signs only until it's too late. And has it ever been too late for you, Chuck, to ever pick up the signs?
Yeah. I was thinking about like my first marriage. I mean, there were lots of signs throughout that marriage, and ultimately, my wife and I split up because she started having a relationship with another woman, and so the signs is it's one of those things as you look back in hindsight, I can see
Mm.
these different signs that were had been going on, I think, for years really, but I didn't really pay attention to them,
Mm.
and maybe part of it was I didn't want to pay attention to them, and I think the other part was that uh, this was something that my ex-wife was struggling with. I don't think she wanted to cheat necessarily, but you know, um, and and I think at the end of the relationship, then is when she started pursuing a relationship outside of our marriage. So,
So, Chuck, how did you take it? I mean, being cheated on, I know how guys take it, but how did you respond to that? How did you feel?
well, because I'm a highly trained professional, um, what I did was I started drinking heavily. Um,
Right.
Went out with the first woman that showed me any kind of attention, and just like, you know, uh, jumped into a relationship really quickly, and then got super, super depressed, and yeah, ended up. Um,
Right. So super professional moves there,
super,
right? Real, just
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Text big pro. That's
Textbook.
what it
This is what
was.
you do. This is what you do. I was the poster boy for what not to do when this
Right.
happens. Yeah.
Okay. But how did you feel? I mean, were you angry?
Oh, I
Were
was
you?
devastated. It's devastated, you know. And I think the devastation comes from, in part, like, just not knowing for so long that
Mm,
the person that you're with, maybe wasn't as into you as that you were into them, or
of
that,
course.
just your entire life is turned upside down when that happens. And I know a lot of guys that I've worked with who have been cheated on, they experience the same thing. Their lives are just completely turned upside down. They are devastated, um, oftentimes financially devastated, because
Mm.
they're going through a divorce, and their partner gets half of everything that they've worked for, half the retirement, half the house. They get to have the kids more often, those kind of things. And so, you can be in a relationship and do everything right and still get cheated on and end up completely upside down.
So
And it's
true.
it's it's not your fault, but I think that there are things that guys do oftentimes where they overlook sort of the red flags, they overlook the potentials, things, or the
Yeah.
types of women, that are probably going to be more likely to cheat, not necessarily going to cheat, but just more likely to cheat.
Yeah. Shall we? I mean, I know that there's been times in my relationships where I was left devastated because
Mhm.
there was some sort of cheating going on, and it's devastating. The betrayal, the hurt, the pain, the anger.
Mhm.
I when guys come to me and they want to get back into the dating, but they still carry a lot of this, and I say,
Mhm.
when you go through a breakup, it's the it's like a blast, and the shrapnel stays with you. This is why
Yeah.
getting help is so
Right.
important, because you start to work on releasing the removing the shrapnel. So when you go to the next
Yeah.
relationship, you're in a much better place. So Chuck, I want to read some stats for you as
Yeah.
well, eh, because I had this belief that men cheat, women aren't cheated on, but it's not true, because you know as much we like to believe that the women are innocent in this,
Mhm.
it's not. It takes two to tango. So in a survey by the Family Institute of Family Studies from 2010-2016, 20% of men and 13% of women have reported having sex with someone other than their partner while still married, right?
Mhm.
And that doesn't take, I mean, those stats are pretty horrific anyway, but it doesn't take into account emotional cheating.
Right.
That was just about sex, that was about physical, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's have a look at this. Is something interesting, right? So 18 to 29 age group,
Mhm.
11% of women cheated, only 10% of men cheated.
Mhm.
So more women between the 18 to 29 cheated than men did,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
interesting. I guess I
Interesting.
guess at that time, well, I guess between 18 and 29, there's women at those times have a higher sexual market value, and they're a lot more desired. Men
Mhm.
want younger women according to
Sure.
sexual market value. So you can
Sure.
see why that happens. But
Sure.
the funny, interesting thing is between 30 and 39, it reverses. 14% of men cheated and 11% of women cheated,
Mm.
right? Now, when it gets to 60 and in the 60s, 24% of men cheated, 16% of women cheated, right?
Mhm.
And what the most interesting thing is, um, paternity, so paternity test, right,
Mhm.
showed, a lot of, there is a mating strategy that, women want a safe kind of
Mhm.
guy, a provider type of guy to settle down with. But
Right.
she wants the alpha, the bad
Right.
boys
Right.
genes to to procreate with. So there's that disconnect as well. So
Mhm.
it said between men who took paternity test, so not all men,
Mhm.
men just specifically took paternity test, 30 to 48%, depending on which stats you look at, who took the paternity test discovered they were not the father.
Wow. That would be like a double betrayal right there.
That
Uh,
is a double
that,
betrayal, right?
yeah.
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 So she settled with a nice guy, but she wants the gene of the
Mhm.
bad boy because she knows that his gene has higher survivability rate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the 5 types of women that are most likely to cheat. This can be helpful, again, if you're dating a woman or if you're in a relationship with a woman and
Hmm.
you see some of these red flags or these types, to just be aware that these are the types of women that tend to cheat more often. They're the ones that fall into that percentage rate of women who tend to cheat. So
Yeah.
the first one is the invisible woman. And she's the kind of woman who's not heard or seen, appreciated, or validated by her partner. She's not
Yeah.
emotionally, in other words, she's not getting, her emotional and sexual needs aren't being met. And I mean, he's just not doing anything to, sort of make her, make her happy. And this oftentimes leads to, uh, her acting out and cheating because she's just not getting the kind of attention. But she's also the kind of woman who doesn't necessarily um, invoke a lot of attention.
That's true. Right. So she's quite passive and she's quite
Yeah,
expecting. I guess there's a few covert contracts in there, and she's not being really vocal about it. The guy could be complete controlling. He could be quite pushy.
right.
Could be there could be many reasons why she might shine down. But if she's not getting her sexual needs or emotional needs met, she'll probably go somewhere else to have those met. Yeah. So that's a
Right. Yeah.
right. The number two. Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is a I see this a lot, especially in modern days, right? The attention druggie, right? She's the one who wants to get a drip of attention. She just wants to inject herself with a fix of attention, approval, and validation from men.
So
Right?
she's
That's
like
what
the
she wants. She's
opposite, right, of the invisible woman.
right. She's the opposite of the invisible woman. She's constantly on social media. She's on her
Mm-hmm.
phone all the time. She's doing those selfies in the bathroom, in the toilet, in the kitchen, everywhere. There's selfie everywhere. She's got more selfies than books, right? All of the world put together, right? So
Yeah.
she's highly narcissistic. So she's very
Mm-hmm.
self-absorbed in it. It's all about the superficial stuff and how she looks. And to her, it's all about ego, vanity numbers, who's looked at my post,
Mm-hmm.
who's liked my post, which guys are DMing me, check me out. So
Right.
that's all she's doing. She's a absolute attention druggie, right? And the thing is,
Right.
girls like that, women like that, and men like this, right? The attention druggies, right? They get bored easily.
Mm-hmm.
They get bored. They need constant kind of
Mm-hmm.
attention. And I noticed one thing as well. I noticed some of those patterns in myself and other people. We all have them, but the attention druggie is really high on this spectrum, and they need the constant validation, the approval, and also they need this hit all the time. These type of individual, these type of women, they love the idea of falling in love, but not doing the relationship because
Mm-hmm.
she wants that high, she wants that thrill.
Mm-hmm.
But when relationships get hard, she kind of moves away from it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the attention druggie.
Yeah, and it really is kind of a drug because it's that dopamine hit that they're looking for. I mean, the whole, taking a selfie, posting it on their Instagram, waiting to see who likes it, what kind of reactions they get, that kind of thing. That's the
Mm.
anticipation of that is a dopamine hit, and every time they open up their Instagram page to look at that, they're seeking that anticipation of a dopamine hit, and then they get validated, they get more dopamine. Um, and so it really is an addictive process that tends to happen. And I think the thing to kind of point out that I'm seeing a pattern here is that the the women who tend to cheat are the women who oftentimes have low self-esteem or have low center of what we would call locus of control, internal locus of control versus external locus of control, meaning that she seeks validation from the outside rather than receives it from the inside.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of merges with number three. So what's number three, Chuck?
Overly friendly woman syndrome. So she's super friendly and she's easily persuaded over. She's kind of over eager, eager to please her partner, colleagues. In the social environment, she likes to be loved and she likes to be really highly thought of, and so she's basically kind of a people pleaser, and so she just can't say no. This is basically kind of the codependent woman, where her low self-esteem and her poor self-image, she never feels good enough. She never feels lovable. Instead, she sort of uses this innocence to mask kind of that internal darkness that she has. And so she's more, this type of woman is actually more likely to emotionally cheat, because she's looking for that emotional connection. She's looking for basically somebody to kind of give her back what she's been giving. And this can be kind of a tricky one, because women oftentimes, in my experience, don't necessarily know that they're, like they're kind of that, oh, I didn't know, I didn't know he was sexually attracted to me kind of thing.
Yes.
And so I think they can kind of use that sort of like that innocence of like, oh, I didn't know that was what he wanted kind of thing.
The naive, right?
The naive. There's a bit of
they're
naivety.
being really, I mean, that it does grapple with me, that part. She's being over friendly. I'm like, that's like the nice guy really sucking up to women. It's like, oh my god, you're so beautiful, you're so this, and you're so, oh, let me pull the chair for you, let me get this for you. Oh, is your computer broken? Let me fix that for you. Oh, your car's broken? Let me fix that for you. They're just so over endearing and just over eager to please their partner. Oh, I didn't know she liked me, and then they play the innocent. Come on, why is he talking to you? Most women know why the guys are talking to you.
Right. And again, it's a self-esteem thing, right? It's that seeking validation from outside yourself. So whether it's like getting a like on, Instagram, or it's, talking to a guy in the grocery store or something like that. It's that lower sense of self that kind of comes up. And then so they're seeking that validation from outside themselves.
Yeah. Chuck, another thing that just came up is sometimes I've noticed that they use a lot of empathy to connect with people, like overusing the empathy. Oh, I'm a real empathetic person. Empathy, dark empathy, is dangerous, because if you've got no boundaries around this, it can be very, very misguiding as well. So one of the things that I noticed that the over friendly woman, when she has this syndrome, is that, again, because she can't say no, she's more likely to be pushed around and more likely to get into situations of sexual situations where, she then is helpless or can't really protect herself.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and so sometimes even like, the cheating can happen as a result of her just putting herself into a bad situation, and again, I think it's, it's not blaming her for that. It's that her own internal sense of self, she doesn't know how to say no. And because she doesn't know how to say no, that oftentimes she just finds herself in a situation where, again, has a difficult time saying no.
Yeah. But it may not be, reason for it, but but it's still her responsibility, which will be something that we'll definitely talk about in a minute as well. Okay, so let's have a look at number 4, the projector.
The projector.
Right. So when I was studying about jealousy, something that I really found something interesting in psychology is sometimes the problem that someone is shouting can be something that they're actually experiencing. Right. And I'm guilty of this too. The projector is a woman who, man or woman, but in this case, we're speaking about women, who starts to project that they're getting jealous, they're getting clingy, they're getting obsessive. They're like, oh, and they start to behave like this, and they start to paint scenarios, start accusing you of things that you haven't done, because in their head they're capable of doing this, so therefore they're projecting that you're capable of doing this, or you're likely to do this, because something's going on in their head. So they start constantly blaming you, constantly start gaslighting you to deflect from their own truth.
Yeah, and that can be really detrimental, because then, you feel like there's something that you did that was that caused this pain even within yourself. So it can be really difficult. Let's talk about number 5. Number 5 is the crybaby. So she's the one who plays the victim role of life. Everything is a mess. There's lots and lots of drama. She cries helplessly, and everything's not her fault. And instead, it's everyone else's fault and everyone else's problem. So she takes no responsibility and can't accept the consequences of her own behavior. She's got a high ego, and she loves to argue, but is never able to really take the feedback maybe that other people have. So she has a hard time really kind of seeing herself and her responsibility in the relationship. And she's easily triggered. She can spend hours on social media creating drama. This is the high drama woman. This is the one who tends to seek the attention by creating negative attention, by arguing, by being, uh, by just being somebody who's always saying the opposite of what somebody else is saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you ever met a woman like that?
No, Chuck, never.
Yeah.
The crybaby is a often one. I've had some clients as well who've had the crybaby as well, and it's never her fault. I mean, these are archetypes, or these are kind of like traits that kind of they all merge with one another as well. The crybaby sometimes merges with the attention druggie seeker as well.
Right.
And and again, you might be dating someone, or you might be in a relation with someone. They might have some of these traits. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have or are going to cheat. But what we're trying to get with this point is there's a higher probability, statistically speaking, there's a higher probability when some people show certain characteristics, there's a higher percentage or odds that they will actually cheat on that one, and both of us having been cheated on, it's painful, it's devastating, and it really knocks men out because they put so much of their emotional center to that woman that when something like this happens, it just devastates the world.
Yeah. I think along with the crybaby, one of the things I've noticed is that women who have a very difficult time apologizing, and if they apologize, it's basically kind of like a backhanded apology. These are the ones that sort of tend to play that victim role. So, if you're in a relationship with a woman and she never apologizes, or she'll say something like, well, if, I'm sorry that you feel that way, as opposed to like, hey, I'm sorry for my behavior. It's sorry. It puts the apology goes back to the offender, I'm sorry that you feel that way, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she doesn't apologize. Just something to look out for, guys. Something to look out for.
She takes no accountability, no responsibility, no acceptance of her actions and consequences. So there's no apologies. Like, and I think a massive red flag is when women and men have no capacity for introspection. And these are the kind of individuals who will never go to coaching, never go to therapy, never go and get help and support, because bring out their real true self.
Right. And I think that's an important thing. I mean, we're talking about kind of women that tend to cheat. I think if you find a woman who's really hell-bent on changing herself from the inside out, if she's receiving her own coaching or therapy, if she's doing a lot of internal work, that's what I would call kind of a green flag. There's a quote I really like. It says, the way that you find them is the way that they're going to be. And I think this is 90% true. The 10% that isn't true is that I also believe that people can change, but people have to want to change. And in order to want to change, that means they have to be able to see themselves and how they affect the other people around them, and decide that their behavior, the way that they treat others, isn't necessarily something that they want to continue with. And so they are, interested in doing self-development and personal development.
Yeah.
So I think the idea here is that you want to try and set yourself up for success. You want to, if you're dating a woman and she has, kind of falls into one of these 5 types, or if you're seeing maybe a combination of these red flags in the relationship, it might be time for you to take a good hard look at yourself and say, why am I attracted to women who tend to fall into these categories?
Absolutely, and especially if you've had experience with serial cheaters, there is something in the common denominator is you, and this is why. I mean, these are some of like the 5 characteristics that Chuck and I have just highlighted, but there are many more telltale signs that we can't cover just in this podcast.
Right.
But if you reach out to either of us, especially if you go to niceguyshow.com. There you can reach out to either Chuck or I, and then we can help you and guide you. And if there's struggles and you think I don't want to get caught again cheating, or get caught being cheated on,
Yeah.
or if you're unsure if you're cheating yourself and you want to get that resolved, because a lot of nice guys do cheat too. So it's not just one way, because the last episode we did cover was like, why do nice guys cheat? So it wasn't just about women cheating. It's about, hey, let's change what we can. Is start with you first. Chuck, so next episode, what do you want to talk about?
I think the next episode let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about 5 things that nice guys can do to get more money and more sex.
Yes.
Because I think, those are the things. We all want more money and more sex, right? So what can we do to actually get more money and more sex? There are certain things that you can do, and we're going to talk about these 5 things on the next episode, that you can do to actually create more wealth, more attraction, and more satisfaction in your life. So be sure to like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do so that you will be notified about our next podcast. And we look forward to seeing you guys then.
Show me the money, Chuck. Show me the money.
Show me them.
All right, guys. See you soon.
See you soon.
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show, the podcast that helps nice guys move past their insecurities and fears into the fullness of their masculine strength and confidence. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast and check out the website niceguyshow.com for more information on how to connect with Chuck and Faisal. Until next time, keep living your best life.